Everything's a form of God-given bliss. If you choose to see it that way, if you choose to see it with the correct framing, it is the correct framing. It's not just my perspective. It is objective. All the things that we experience in this life are a form and a source of bliss. And they are a bridge and a conduit leading us to the experience of bliss. This is possible to the man who knows how to manufacture bliss out of any ingredients within himself. And until you learn how to do this, and it's possible for everyone, almost everyone, you're not going to have the blessing of the elect. Not until you learn to be your own source of bliss. And this is basically, you may have heard of something called inner alchemy. Inner alchemy. There's a type of practice that some people do, some spiritualists do. It's called inner alchemy. And it's chock full of metaphors that are analogous to the process that I'm describing. Basically, the human body has all of the machinery in it that is required to create states of elation and joy, and you don't even have to take drugs. You don't even have to take drugs. That's the craziest part. People are taking drugs because they don't understand. They don't know. They don't have the skill. A lot of people don't even have interoception. They can't even tell when there's something wrong in their body. They don't even know when their gut microbiome is fucked up. They don't even know when they're about to injure themselves at any point because there's so much tension stored up in their body that they've become used to it and they don't even notice it anymore because they're so used to it, but the body's in a state of crisis. And a person can be so disconnected from their own emotions and their own heart that they are like a ghost. They're like a zombie wandering through life. And in addition to that, a lot of people are just disconnected from their holistic self. Your holistic self, not your self-concept. Okay? A lot of people identify with their self-concept. That is the ego. Many people identify with the contents of their mind, but that is not you. You are a much more intricate thing than that. And you really have to be able to look into yourself and understand your inner workings. And then you can make little changes to how the mechanism functions. And it's kind of a process, but that's how you start producing bliss. It's not immediate. It's not going to happen right away. How do you learn that? Meditation is one of the ways that people learn to separate themselves out from the contents of their minds. You have to develop a way of seeing where you see things as they truly are, and you see beyond the veil. You see beyond the face of everyday life. You have to be able to see beneath the surface of things. Because you have to be able to see it for yourself in order to take control. If you don't see how these things work, if they're not a part of your understanding, if they're not integrated into your understanding, they're going to be in other people's control. It's just going to be out of your control. So what am I trying to say here? That's why self-knowledge is important, but self-knowledge is not to be confused with a narrative. A narrative is a story you tell yourself about yourself. And that is not self-knowledge. Self-knowledge is something more integrated, something more immediate and intuitive. It's visceral. I know what's going on with me in any given moment because I feel it. You got to be connected enough with yourself that you can actually feel what's happening within you. The stories that you tell about yourself. Oh, well, when I was a kid, this happened to me, and then I developed an insecure attachment style, and I have a trauma response to blah, blah, blah. Okay, maybe that stuff's useful, but it's not anything but a narrative. And, those can be like tools, but you're just filling your mind with thoughts. If you don't develop an integrated and intuitive connection to yourself, you're just not going to know. You're going to be telling yourself a bunch of stories. You're going to get attached to those stories, and then they're going to confuse you even more. This is why I don't necessarily believe in talk therapy for men, because a man doesn't need to talk about his problems. He needs to feel his own spirit, and he needs to learn how to manipulate his own spirit to get the appropriate result. If you're disconnected from yourself, everyone in your life is going to be disconnected from you because you can't channel your own energy. You can't vibe. You're going to lack confidence. You're never going to get what you want, if only by accident. But a man that knows his own spirit can get everything intentionally. That's the beauty of it. Just think of it. Once you understand this truth, you're going to be like, life is so incredible. It's beautiful. But you got to get there, okay? And it takes practice. It starts with prolonged periods of self-observation. And from there, you start to gain a basis of understanding. And you can start to do little experiments on yourself. Remember, we're holistic beings. We are physical, mental, everything. You can experiment with different foods. You can experiment with all kinds of things, because everything that goes into the body, from the foods we eat to the thoughts that we consume, the content that we are exposed to, well, it all has an effect on our overall state. Now, to the beginner, you need to have good inputs so you can be clean, so you can be pure. People in a more advanced stage of understanding inner alchemy, I'm just going to call it that, they can control the output almost regardless of the input. It's insane. But the beginner needs to have a healthy lifestyle. They need to be interacting with positive people. Those kind of like put you in the right state to be able to learn how to be confident. If you're around a bunch of fucked up people and you're taking a bunch of drugs and you're eating shit every day, you're just not going to be in the right position so that you can learn how to be happy. All of that stuff is going to poison your energy. You almost have to become like a monk and get away from all that if that's your life, and purify yourself. But you don't stay a monk. That's the important thing. You don't live as a monk indefinitely. You don't live as a monk in perpetuity. You go into the forest or whatever and you become a monk and you become pure. And then you have to return to society to live your life as a man. Okay, but every situation that you end up in life is going to affect your energy in some way. If you're not stable within yourself, if you're not centered, everything that happens to you is going to have some influence on your energy. And these situations are going to cause chemical responses in your body. And those chemical responses are going to lead to changes in your behavior. You have to understand all this. You have to understand what's happening. Then you can learn to understand when you're in an improper state or in an unstable state, and you'll realize it wouldn't be wise to act while in that state. You shouldn't be taking action in there. You have to withdraw and stabilize. As you become more effective at this, you can do it very quickly. So it's not like you have to actually go away and withdraw from society. But anyway, after a while, you become so good at, altering your own energy that things don't really have a negative influence on you if you don't want them to. And you can take anything that's thrown at you and turn it into basically whatever you want. And if you become very good at this, then you start emanating. Now you're the one giving off energy. You're not passively receiving it and being affected by it. You're the one giving off energy, affecting things. You're like the sun. The sun only emanates and fructifies things. It doesn't receive anything. It doesn't take anything from its environment. Strive to be like the sun. The sun only gives off its rays, and then whatever those rays touch, that becomes warm and fruitful if it has the capacity within itself to become fruitful. We can learn a lot from that. We can learn a lot.